visit, which has been very useful. To give us some information about that, we have the privilege of having Shri Vinay Kwatra, Foreign Secretary of India, also joining us on the dais, Dr. Asif Saeed, Secretary CPV and OIA, our Ambassador to Egypt, Shri Ajit Gupte, as well as Dr. Pradeep Raj Purohit, Joint Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs, looking after the West Asia and North Africa Division. With that, sir, may I request you to make some opening remarks?
Thank you very much, Arindam. Secretary Dr. Asif Saeed, Ambassador Ajit Gupte, Dr. Raj Purohit, and friends from the media, thank you very much for coming for the special briefing on the visit of the Honorable Prime Minister of India to Egypt. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, as Arindam just said, is on a state visit to Egypt at the invitation of President His Excellency Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. This is Prime Minister's first visit to Egypt. He arrived yesterday afternoon and was warmly received by Prime Minister of Egypt at the airport, and was also accorded a ceremonial welcome yesterday, including the Guard of Honor at the airport. Yesterday, Prime Minister had 4 major interactions. The first of them referred to the round table that the Honorable Prime Minister had with the Prime Minister of Egypt and his ministerial colleague. This was an extensive set of discussions on following up on different areas of bilateral engagement and cooperation between India and Egypt, principally in economic areas. This included the fields of renewable energy, number 1, information communication technology, 2, 3 areas relating to health and agriculture, 4 areas relating to infrastructure partnership wherever required, and other areas of bilateral partnership in terms of what is the current status of that cooperation, and also going forward, what is it that the two countries propose to do. That constituted a major discussion between the two sides yesterday afternoon, which was thereafter followed by an interaction with the Indian community in Egypt that included businessmen, professionals and students and other people from different walks of life. The Indian community in Egypt may be small, but they are very vibrant, dynamic, and an important part of Egyptian society here. After that, the Honorable Prime Minister had a meeting with His Eminence the Grand Mufti of Egypt yesterday, Dr. Shaki Alam. There the discussion focused on how exactly two countries can partner together in countering extremist ideology, on taking steps to prevent radicalization within the society, including radicalization of the youth population. You would all recall that His Eminence the Grand Mufti had a very successful recent visit to India just in May last month actually, and there he had a first-hand experience of an interaction with the strong and diverse social and cultural fabric of India. During this meeting, the Honorable Prime Minister also announced that India will set up a Center of Excellence in the field of information technology at Dar al-Ifta in Cairo, which is headed by His Eminence the Grand Mufti. Thereafter, the fourth set of interactions which the Honorable Prime Minister had yesterday was a meeting with the cross-section of prominent personality from Egypt. The whole objective of that interaction was how different constituents of the two society, the prominent people who are important in shaping narratives in the society, can actually come together and build a more vibrant people-to-people exchanges between India and Egypt. This morning, the Honorable Prime Minister visited the Al-Hakim Mosque in Cairo, and thereafter visited the Heliopolis Commonwealth War Grave Cemetery, paid homage to the valiant Indian soldiers who made their supreme sacrifice during World War I while protecting Egypt. Thereafter, the Honorable Prime Minister had a program at the Presidency, where at the Al Ittihadiyya Palace, where he was very warmly welcomed and received by His Excellency President Sisi. The two leaders had a private one-to-one conversation in which, following up on the visit of His Excellency President of Egypt to India just a few months ago, the two leaders discussed the full range of bilateral cooperation, as also took stock of what's happening on important issues in the region and in the world. It was very clear from those discussions and the MOU and the agreements that were signed later on that the two leaders gave particular focus on enhancing the political and security cooperation, defense collaboration, trade and investment ties, scientific and academic collaboration, and strengthening of people-to-people ties. So if you put together the yesterday's discussions between the two Prime Minister and the respective cabinet colleagues, and you look at what the leadership level focus between President Sisi and Prime Minister Modi was into, you will find that sum total of focus areas of partnership would be these which I have just listed. Thereafter, in a very nice ceremony, President Sisi conferred on Prime Minister Modi the Order of the Nile Honor, which is the highest civilian award in Egypt. Prime Minister clearly remarked that the recognition symbolizes two main things, which is the deep-rooted friendship between the two countries and the people of the two societies. The four agreements that were signed during the visit of Honorable Prime Minister, the first, the most important, and a landmark development in the history of our relationship, was the signature on the strategic partnership between India and Egypt. This was signed by the Honorable Prime Minister and Honorable President Sisi of Egypt. In addition, the two leaders also witnessed the exchange and on the sidelines of three other MOUs. One of them focused on agriculture and allied sectors. Second one on protection and preservation of monuments and archaeological sites and competition laws. Thereafter, there was a lunch hosted in honor of Prime Minister. I should mention that building on some of the key elements of our partnership, which is relating to the archaeological and the cultural side, Honorable Prime Minister of India and the Honorable Prime Minister of Egypt then travelled to connect in some ways with these archaeological sites, but also look at the rich historical and the cultural aspects of Egypt. And two Prime Ministers visited the pyramids just on the outskirts of Cairo city. Again, a very, very crucial area of our partnership, which is on the restoration and preservation of old cultural site. Prime Minister also extended invitation to the Honorable President for the G20 summit, which is upcoming in September 2023. Honorable Prime Minister, as Arindam mentioned at the beginning, will be departing shortly in about another 10-15 minutes from Cairo for Delhi. So we don't have too much time. I'll stop here. If there are a couple of questions, I can try and answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy to take a few questions, but given the paucity of time, we'll take only one question at maximum. Please introduce yourself and the organization that you represent before I take question. Yes, ma'am. Can you start with you?
I'd like to
One second. Microphone will come to you.
So my name is Sisi. I'm a deputy chief editor of the Ahram and Harp magazine. And my question concerning the new and renewable energy. There is a performing and very interesting cooperation in this field. Can you elaborate more on this? And concerning also the economic zone of the Suez Canal, is there more things to say on this? More cooperation in this field? Thank you.
Okay, next. Anybody else have a question? Yes, please, and then. Please, careful.
Sir, this is Vishal Barrister from VD News. So the order of Nile or conferred on the Prime Minister speaks volumes about the growing friendship between India and Egypt. So how do you see to it?
Okay.
I see no more questions, sir. One second, sir. One question here, please. Microphone here, please.
Ahmed Hussein from Al Arabi Channel. My question, thank you for this opportunity first. My question about the India's stance on Egypt's desire to join the BRICS.
Egypt's request to join the BRICS.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Fine. Thank you. Ma'am, to your first question on the new and renewable energy. New and renewable energy has become a very crucial aspects of India's own priorities in terms of how exactly the sources of new and renewable energy, including solar, wind, and now hydrogen, for example, are positioned overall in the energy mix within the country. So we have set up for ourselves a target of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy. I think it's by 2030. Installed capacity of 500 gigawatts. Naturally, this is an area which, given the challenges of climate change, which the whole world faces, is a very crucial area of partnership between India and Egypt. Green hydrogen, in particular, stands out, partly because of the priorities of green hydrogen in Egypt by the Egyptian leadership, and also its linkages with the green hydrogen mission that India has announced. I think there are very strong possibility of one, investment, and two, technology partnership in the field of green hydrogen, and also for the experts in this area to continue talking to each other because this is still an evolving field. The entire world is focused on it. Naturally, as it goes along, the strong areas of partnership will always be in technology and investment. So I think this can be a very strong area of collaboration between India and Egypt. On to the Suez Canal, I think the chairman of the Suez Canal Authority has just returned from India, I think yesterday, if I'm not wrong. He was there in India. He had an extensive set of meetings with the business stakeholders with an objective which you mentioned, which is that the economic zone in the Suez Canal economic zones, what are the Indian investments that could come in a manner that benefits both the two economies and the two societies. Yeah, and as the discussions that the two prime ministers had yesterday between the two delegations, the chairman of the Suez Canal Authority was there along with other senior ministers, finance minister, foreign minister, international cooperation development minister, etc. The Order of the Nile honor, which has been so kindly bestowed by the President of Egypt on the Prime Minister of India, is really is a symbol but also a substance of the strength of India-Egypt partnership, which, as I said, today we achieved a landmark point in our relationship where the document of the strategic partnership was signed between the two countries.